You are getting me raw and unfiltered after a day of a lot of high quantum light coming through from somewhere. I've checked Schumann's, it's not coming through from there. I've checked the sun. There is a CME grace, but nothing really. And so what I can tell you on a Monday in the middle of everything that we're going through right now, we are experiencing some extremely high vibrational quantum light field coming through and just saturating us in that new timeline. At the same time that some really awful low vibrational shadow things are happening. And what I can hear spirit team say is that the process that we're in right now, this is part of the they're saying this is part of the cosmic balancing as we head into the deepest part of the shadow where we're going to be required to hold the space with before this thing begins to unravel and flow. Now, I spent some time talking with Spirit Team yesterday, running the Pendulum check, and they're like, we're at point break. There are things that are going to be happening this week, but they did say there are going to be painful things going on that we're going to need to hold presence with before this breaks through and breaks open. I wish I had better news, but this is all part of the process. And if you know anything about shamanic healing or shadow work, what do? We hold space at the depth of our cellular coding in that shadow world space with that healing energy as it all works itself out and releases and comes to the surface and leaves. And I believe that we're in that space collectively right now. Now, there is quite a combo of information that Spirit Team wants me to walk you through. Yes, my energies are lower. You're not getting my usual vivacious stealth, but we need to get some of this information reported out to you. Just a real quick nod that this is for entertainment purposes only, and any people or events that I speak about is allegedly. And before I turn the camera around, one of the things the Spirit Team wants me to begin to do is report on some of the things happening here in Eastern Washington, just as an effort to keep the information rolling. So the place where I live is in the country. It is rather remote. I didn't know it at first when I first got here, but it turns out that I am just down the road from a military base. Actually, where I live, there's a couple of military bases around here. And what's very interesting is that when things are getting revved up militarily on the planet, this installation that I live down the road from is used as a bombing training facility, okay? Well, guess what? All day long today, boom, boom, boom. So I just want to put that out there and let all of you know that I don't know what's being planned. I don't know what's being talked about. But something is going on, because whenever I hear those booms going off, there tends to be military action begin to happen shortly after that. And so I want to put that out there as like, I'm seeing something going on. I want to say something, and you all need to know about that. And all right, here we go. So the first thing the Spirit Team had me do, which was rather shocking to me because this hasn't happened in a while, they wanted me to pull cards from my original Somatic Money Oracle deck. And once I did that, they gave me a quote. And what's very interesting is that the forecasting we're going to pull out of here is going to line up with what these cards are talking about. So when I first pulled these cards, this is the first card I pulled about the toxic financial patriarchy and gaslighting. The second one that I pulled was about the witch wound. The third one that I pulled was about survivalism. And the fourth one that I pulled was about your IQ to EQ money scale. So anytime this card comes up, the toxic financial patriarchal gaslighting, anytime this comes up, it has to do with how the imbalance of the toxic patriarchy has created this financial system that keeps out so many and makes it a hardship for so many others to be able to participate. I have a much longer report about this. I will tag that in my link tree so you can go take a look at it. But basically, when this card shows up, it means that financial things are being hidden in a very toxic kind of way. Now, the second card that I pulled was really interesting because this is the juxtaposition. So the card about shattering your witch wound, this is basically the sacred feminine in financial recovery from everything that has happened here. So these two cards, they really do go hand in hand. And this is indicating that something is going on with a shift of coming out of the imbalance of the toxic financial patriarchy and moving into a financial embrace of healing the financial witch wound. So fascinating, so powerful. If you want to learn more about the witch wound, I've got the image of a video that I've done about the witch wound, and that is on my playlist in Inspirational Basics. Now, the third card that came up, so interesting, not a surprise, it landed on survivalism, which is one of the 12 karmic to destiny money soul contracts. So this is talking about how has the toxic financial patriarchy been challenging for us, and how are we healing our inner sacred financial witch wound, especially in the area of survivalism, paying very close attention to how we are in balance with our IQ money, which is all about logic and logistics with money, versus our EQ money, which is about our emotional intelligence with money, the scale of that. I've also got a report on this also in my link tree that you can go ahead and take a look at. This is all part of the programs with the magic of somatic money that I am rolling out. Now, what's really interesting is these 4 cards came to light. Like, I pulled it and I was like, am I done? They're like, nope, keep pulling. The same with this one, the same with this one. I pulled this card and they're like, you're done. Here's the message. You want to see the message? The message is and this is for the collective, someone or something is gaslighting us financially. Duh. And that comes to light with what's going to be happening with all of the action that we're going to be seeing over the next couple of weeks. And when this comes to light, it's going to create questions, it's going to create transformation, and it's going to create some sort of transformation in how we work with our tax system. And yes, it might affect you individually, but for the collective, financially, what we're going to be going through with the proceedings of the things that are going to be unveiled for us over the next couple of weeks, it will eventually lead to unraveling how we have been gaslit financially and where all of our money truly is going. And this goes into some really dark, deep-seated things that get danced around but never, ever, ever get talked about. And I think that may be why Spirit Team wanted me to mention the whole bombing thing at the military facility that's right next door to where I live. And I think it has to do with an unquestioned sacred cow in our national budgeting system that is also connected into some deeper, darker ops. Keep this all in mind, and now we are going to switch over to forecasting. Oops, sorry, we're not headed to forecasting. There is some messaging that they want me to share with you concerning a pendulum check that I did yesterday. So we're going to begin with where I landed at the end of the pendulum checking, and that is this repeat message from Spirit Team about how they are highlighting how so many of the Democratic leadership people repeated this whole thing about upholding the U.S. Constitution and a peaceful transfer of power, okay? And what I am beginning to realize, because this has been on my mind for so heavy for the last 24, 36 hours, and what I'm realizing is they were speaking to us in code, people, even though they kept saying this through into the certification and the Big I Day, uphold the U.S. Constitution and peaceful transfer of power. I don't think they were talking about the Red Party. I think they were talking about the activities and the responsibilities that they were taking care of behind the scenes to uphold the U.S. Constitution and eventually creating a peaceful transfer of power. So they were talking in code, but they were also talking in a way of writing the script and dreaming the dream into what they see potentially being able to happen. I think we're going to see this come to pass. And today, as I wrote this out in a card, Spirit team said this. Spirit team said, Dana, the guardrails are in place. Remember Biden talking about the guardrails? Well, the last 24 hours, I have been feeling the guardrails, and that the guardrails are in place, and they're beginning to circle in a little bit closer, a little bit closer, and a little bit closer. And so this is where Spirit Team wants us to begin. So I did pendulum checking on various topics, and then I landed in this place and I asked, will Blue Lotus still be our next president of the United States this spring of 2025? And it came back with a resounding yes. That arrow is in the direction of my pendulum, confirming a yes. And then Spirit Team came in and they channeled to me. They said, yes, undoubtedly. But it will be painful to get there. And I think that's what we're going to begin to see this week. It's not necessarily going to be an easy pathway to get there. And then they continued, they said, much must come to light in a certain sequence, in a certain way for it to work. And for the American public to fully see and understand. This will palpably rip at the heart and the seams of the country. So part of the reason this is taking so long, folks, is that we as a collective, no matter where we're at politically, we as a collective need to be ready and willing to see the information that is going to be coming to light. It's going to rock our country. And I want to direct you back to the cards that Spirit Team had me pull at the front end, and that this is going to be very connected to something that is financial. We're looking at this from a power perspective right now, but it's also a financial perspective. And so this is also, there's going to be some stuff coming to light. So I believe that's what when they are talking about this here, it's not just going to be about power. It's also going to be about money and how things have been happening with the toxic financial patriarchy and bringing things back into the balance so that we no longer have to be in survivalism. Okay. So one of the things that I have realized is like we are living this so intensely, and we are looking at this so, like through microscope lenses of like, oh my God, how can we handle much of any more of this? And one of the things that I realized coming into this forecasting thing that I'm doing today is, wouldn't it be a good exercise to look at this whole thing through the perspective of the planets writing the script? Because you know what? Astrology does not lie. I do know two things. The body does not lie, and astrology does not lie. And if you're ever in question, you want to be paying attention to what's going on with your body as it relates to the astrology going on. So that's what we're going to look at from a forecasting perspective, because I found some very interesting things in our collective astrological forecasting that I want to show you that are kind of like, some very interesting tidbits that might be very helpful for us right now. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to begin with last week. The energy on last week, it basically said utter chaos. And the review on last week is, here's where the new timeline landed. All right, this was the big I day right there. Here's where the new timeline landed. In the middle of this is an interesting timeline jumping, like all of this through here and the energy gateway. And we anchored in the new timeline at the plus 50% mark. Right? And then we went through that existential line of a big catharsis that happened right here. And oh, isn't that interesting? There's Lilith squaring Mars right there. That wasn't that fun. While Mercury opposed Mars and Mercury trying Uranus. Anyway, so that's just a review on last week. Then, as we moved through the weekend, we left those timeline jumps and energy gateways. We had just a little bit of a reprieve. Wasn't that a nice reprieve right there on Sunday? It was like there was some calm in the week. Well, coming into this week, Spirit Team, the feeling that I got, the energy that I got off of this week was rubber meets the road. And basically Sunday, Spirit Team was chatty Cathy about there's going to be a lot of activity this week. There's going to be some fruition. There's going to be some things going on. All the things that we've been waiting for, we're going to begin to see some glimmers. Is it everything? I don't know, but I do know that there's some stuff going on. Now, I do want to point out a couple things. Psychic attacks are beginning to wane a bit. Once we went through that existential point, psychic attacks are beginning to drop off. I have also instituted a check on where our information blackouts are. Turns out that middle of this week, we should have a lift out of the information blackout. We should have more information flowing a bit more freely, and it's very interesting where that is landing. Now, let's talk about the hot spots this week that are so important. First one is we've got a new moon conjuncting with a Mercury in Pluto over that Aquarian line as Mercury moves into Aquarius. This is a hot spot. All of this right here on Tuesday, Wednesday is a hot spot, and there's been a lot of chatter about informational reports landing on a Tuesday. And what does the new moon conjuncting Mercury conjuncting Pluto in Aquarius mean? It's as though difficult, deep, complicated, stirring, moving, disturbing, and even ominous subject matters come up for discussion. Well, isn't that an interesting script, right, for what we see potentially coming this week? Because the 28th is a day that is beginning to be indicated as more information coming out. And wouldn't it be interesting if that disturbing discussion had something to do with Spirit Team is indicating here, at least in the long term, at least in a seed plant? The other one that is really powerful is this. I have been feeling for a very long time that we need to be paying attention to Pluto's degree movements, because Pluto moving through its degrees is like a planet crossing over into a new sign. Now, here's the very interesting thing: as we do a Pluto at 1 degree in Aquarius change into Pluto at 2 degrees in Aquarius, and that happens on the 30th. So we need to take a look at what is this degree change going to mean for us. I know I'm going completely analog here. So Pluto in 1 degree of Aquarius signifies a period of potential radical transformation on a societal level, focusing on themes of innovation, collective change, and questioning established power structures, often leading to a desire to break free from outdated norms and embrace new ways of thinking and living, while also potentially experiencing intense power struggles within communities or groups you belong to. It marks the beginning of a deep exploration in the collective unconscious and the potential to reshape societal structures for a more progressive future. And we are headed into this energy. Pluto in the 2nd degree of Aquarius signifies a period of potential deep transformation on a societal level, focusing on themes of radical change, redefining group dynamics, and questioning established norms within communities, particularly related to personal values, financial systems, and how we connect with others as a collective. Interesting that Spirit Team brought up this financial patterning right here as we head into the 2nd degree of Aquarius on the 30th of January, sandwiched between deep truth rising and Mercury all chatterboxy about it, along with Chiron squaring Mars, reviewing all sorts of needs and powers and actions going on right here. Chiron in Aries is squaring up with Mars retrograde in Cancer, which is a period where deep-seated wounds related to asserting yourself and taking action and expressing your needs can resurface. And sitting in the middle of it is Pluto moving into 2nd degree of Aquarius. Folks, you can't make a script up like this. This is ripe for reports beginning to reveal, information being revealed, conversations happening, taking deeper looks at really uncomfortable things. It's all sitting right here, and everything that Spirit Team started saying to me on Sunday indicates that this week seeds the beginning of some big, powerful changes that I believe we're going to see unroll through the rest of the spring. So this is my rather long-winded way of saying, as I continue to hear those bombs go off in the distance, this is my long-winded way of saying we're not out of the woods. there are still a lot of cards to be played, and we need to be aware, alert. We need to be doing our work of being conscious of walking in that new timeline as these changes are happening. So yeah, I will be coming to you with more information as it rolls through, and I'm going to begin to mix in a little bit of my own somatic money business with this as we move forward. So make it a good one, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.